single that swarmed the world.
Did it? I didn't even look at the view count, honestly. Let's see what it's up to.
Well, you look it up while I set up the situation.
Yeah.
All right. So, speaking of John, in our conversation last week, he at one point said something about me being really good at talking to like conservatives without like snapping. Yeah. And I told him he was generally correct, but
better than most, yeah.
It's getting to the point where I'm really losing patience with a lot of like dumb shit. And atop of that list is this new industry based solely around being canceled, or the concept of being someone that the world wants to cancel. Yeah. And it's stupid on multiple levels. Starting with the simple fact that all these motherfuckers aren't even being canceled.
No.
These people that are so-called being canceled are about as successful as they could be, probably more successful than they would have been.
A lot of people found their success after being quote-unquote canceled.
Yeah, like it's absolutely part of their like their business MO, plan, yeah. You know?
And I think to some of their credit, like some people are self-aware enough that like I saw an interview with like Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a comedian who does Kill Tony.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar. He quote unquote got canceled, and it was the best thing that ever happened to his career. You know, same thing with like Shane Gillis, and I don't see either one of them really crying about it. Like, in fact, the interview I saw with Tony, he basically credited it to a lot of his success. And it's like that's what it is like so funny about like anyone who's still out there on this like fighting this like war on wokeism, right. And being like all they want to do is cancel. It's like, bro, like who's canceled? Who got canceled besides people who legitimately like did terrible things?
Yeah, like people that are in jail right now.
Like your Weinsteins. And yeah, there was some collateral damage through like the growing pains of like social cancellations, if you will. But that just means like people were calling you out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like that disagreed with you or wanted to say something. And like, yeah, that self-righteousness can get annoying, especially online, but it's like not any more or less annoying than just being a full-on troll on the internet, you know? So like what's better? And like I don't know, like I don't know how to wrap that up in a neat bow, but we also like got way far from the thing we wanted to talk about.
Well, there's two things that really set me off. And one, I was holding back because I was just like, okay, this isn't like really bothering me that much, right. Which is, so I just, not just, but very recently I watched the Dave Chappelle special.
Right.
Which is, Dave Chappelle is not the GOAT.
No. Okay?
Far from it.
He was at one point he was looking to be a contender for that title.
Right.
And I think he went up and he didn't have what it took.
Yeah. We prematurely gave him that title. And when I look back on some of his stuff, obviously we can't take away what he did with the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Perfect for that time period.
That was a flash in the pan that was just like so brilliant for everything that we were doing and weren't doing like in media, and just like disrupted everything to the point.
It's a lightning rod of culture.
Yeah, that has children of like Key and Peele, right? And you know, just like even like some of the more edgier comedians, I guess, coming out probably get their cues from what Dave Chappelle was doing back then.
Yeah, but even then, it was just like it was way more insightful and important in culture for like its time and place. Because this was like not pre-internet, but this was before the internet really knew what it was, you know. And it spread like viral, you know. Before like virality was a thing, you know.
Right.
And I think that's half the reason he had to take a break from it, because he was one of the first people to really experience like pre-internet viral levels of just like not celebritydom, but just that level of notoriety.
Yeah, being like almost memified in the sense that he'd tell you that he'd go out to dinner or whatever with his kids, and like some stranger would come up to him and be like, "Rick James, bitch," you know, like. like, can you not call me a bitch while I'm here? Like,
Yeah.
eating with my kid.
No, for sure. That'd freak me out. I'd be like, I gotta fuck with this.
so, seeing that, obviously we can't take away what was done, but I'm starting to think because he has a writing partner, right? Neil Brennan. If
Yeah.
you're familiar. Okay.
Yep.
And despite Dave's name being the marquee name of the show,
Yeah.
I'm starting to think Neil, who I think is actually a really great. I don't. He's a good comedian, but I think he's a better writer. I've seen him do like other
Right.
like sort of performances.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stand up and like interviews and stuff, and he's okay. But yeah, maybe he grounded it and balanced him out in a way that maybe like together they were better.
Yeah. So I'm starting to think that we gave too much credit to Dave Chappelle as being the genius.
Yeah.
And not enough credit to Neil, because also when you think about the top skits of that show, like what's the first skit you think about when you think the Chappelle Show?
I mean, it's got to be either the black white supremacist or the Prince,
Amazing.
or the Rick James bitch.
Okay.
Like those three.
So if I were to hazard a guess, because they made a point to never say who came up with what skits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but if I were to guess, I would say the black white supremacist was probably a Dave Chappelle special, something that was his like brainchild. But then the other two you named off, that was Charlie Murphy's story.
Yeah.
So,
True.
like his biggest thing was like Charlie Murphy's story that he just acted really well in and they put together in a funny way. So, just having that clarity, thinking about his legacy, and then watching what we're seeing now with the stand-up. I'm just like, dude, this guy is fucking lazy, and he's not all that funny anymore. Like he doesn't craft jokes anymore. It seems. And on top of that, he's just cashing these checks, doing this bullshit. He's not even insightful anymore.
No, I mean, I think he knows like he has a built-in audience. He knows like the culture war type of commentary. Like there's an audience for that. But yeah, I really don't think he has to try. I think the last time where I feel like he did put some effort into it was he had that outdoor sit-down special that was around after George Floyd died.
Yeah.
And he tried to be a little bit more insightful there and like have some sort of hey, I'm your gentle uncle who's like important. But yeah, I think there's a certain level of like self-righteousness and him believing in his own like goatdom that it's just gotten away. It's like what happens when anyone gets too successful, like you get a little lazy, you get a little fat on the bone, and
people stop calling you out.
Yeah, like nobody's calling him out, like, and whatever, it's fine. It's like serviceable as like a entertainment, if you will, But like, it was like when I saw him and Chris Rock, it was night and day. Chris Rock his jokes were like crafted. His tonal delivery, it's kind of like one note. I don't want to say one note, but like he has his way of delivering jokes.
Right, he's Chris Rock. Like, he's unmistakable.
But it's like it's very tight. There's like a rhythm to it, and he's like on it, and it was great. And I was laughing the whole way through.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle's meandering. He rants. He just kind of like says stuff, and then it's kind of like, oh, deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, that's not even like that interesting of a thought, Yeah. And you just think because you're Dave Chappelle and you thought it, that it's so poignant, and it's just not.
Right.
Like you're out of touch. You're a rich, just kind of a rich entitled asshole now.
Pretty much.
Like, sorry, that's who you are now.
I'm not sorry. That's exactly what he is.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna. Are you offended now?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
That mentality is just seeped through like everybody's like brain in a way that's like, I'm actually not that offended. I just think you're trying to be offensive in a way that's just being like makes you look like an asshole.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like I'm not offended by it. So the things what you were saying with him doing his show after George Floyd, he was trying to make some points about some stuff, and yeah, it was okay or whatever. But
I just mean that's the last time he tried.
Yeah,
felt like.
Yeah, and I agree. But like lately, he's like his whole shtick now is being this like attacked, canceled comedian that no one's able to hear his truths about his like turfdom of being like, oh yeah, there's two genders and making these trans jokes. I'm not offended by trans jokes. I just think that if you're going to say that shit, you have to come hard. Like you have to have a really either like important point to make or a super sharp joke. Yeah. He has neither when it comes to that stuff.
Right. It's again, and he tried to make fun of it, this whole punching down. It's like you can call it out, but it's still kind of what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know, like, and you're not doing it well either. You know,
yeah.
Like it's not like particularly like poignant or important. You're just feeling like victimized as a multimillionaire. Like, sorry, you know, like, and this is the thing about what people call cancel culture. It's just people calling you out. Like that's literally the internet just being like, hey. And again, like that shit gets annoying. And like if you go on any message board or any conversation comment section on Twitter, it's awful.
Yeah.
In both ways. But like I don't think the right has like a monopoly on being canceled. They're out there fucking crying about everything and like call anybody out on everything. If you want to talk about like social canceling, like you guys, you do it too. You just call it something else, you know?
Well, that was the original cancel, you know, and I try to explain to people about like identity politics, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people think identity politics started in 2015 or 2008, like, oh, Barack Obama's president, and we're talking about black people stuff.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, like, this is identity. But the reality is, like, identity politics started the second, like, Europeans came to another country and determined that the non-white people were lesser than. Like, that's the immediate identity politics. Like, the second they said, oh, you're a woman, you can't vote, boom, that's identity politics. Everything we've done since then has been an effort to correct that.
Yeah. I mean, it is like very absurd that we now live in this like area that's like that's where we were with that level of the identity politics was like, hey, this is right, and if you're not, well, we're gonna kill you. And now it's like I don't even know what you would like. It's so superficial, the level of like chest beating that happens in this day and age with identity politics. It's just like kind of a joke. And I just think people need to develop actual identities beyond like a political side.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
be something other than your, who you vote for.
Yeah,
that's
please,
a novel idea.
For fuck's sake. Like as soon as somebody says, "Oh, liberal,"
yeah,
or like, "Oh, this idiot Republican," it's just like, what are we doing, man?
Fighting a good fight, man.
Yeah, and that's like what, like I guess I'm gonna put out there what we saw yesterday.
Okay, yeah, so we can move on to the main course.
I think it feeds into it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Now, obviously, we tease up the fact that you and I both worked for the Daily Wire.
Yeah, best years of my life.
Yeah, some good times there. But you and I haven't really spoken too much about them, or
you did like first episode, but that was like
a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of waiting because like I do plan to spill tea at some point and tell stories of my time there, but now isn't the time, I think. Yeah, in the future.
Stay tuned.
But yesterday, John sent me a text, and I was texting him trying to set up like what we're gonna do for the Chiefs game.
Okay.
And I was like, "Yeah, John, the game's at noon. Like, you want to meet here?" Well, we're just talking, and he's just like, "Yeah, that sounds good. I'm a little distracted right now. I'm watching Ben rap. I'm watching Ben Shapiro rap." John also worked at the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's either watching Ben's rendition of Wet Ass P Word, if you remember that.
Wasn't that like a weird edit?
No, that was him. Well, it was an edit, but he absolutely like read those lyrics. And
right. When he read them out loud, and then people actually put it to a beat.
Yeah. So I thought he was either rewatching that, or he was watching. Are you familiar with those Chorley guys?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the guys' name is well, he has a channel called Sir Spence,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he does an amazing Ben Shapiro.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that.
And so he does a rap as Ben Shapiro,
Mm-hmm.
and which is hilarious. So I thought he was either watching one of those two things.
You were wrong.
I was very wrong when he sends me a link to something McDonald.
Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald.
Tom McDonald.
Featuring Ben Shapiro.
Which is today, it has 3.6 million views in 2 days. It is number 2 trending on music on YouTube. Which is baffling.
Oh my god!
I had to rewatch it before this, and one thing I noticed, because the first time I watched it, I thought it was fake.
Okay.
Like, I thought the dude did a rap and like the AI like comped Ben in there. But then when I watched it, I was like, the reason it looks that way is because Ben looks so unnatural in like a hoodie and like it up and like trying to act like hard or whatever, because he just looks so beside himself. He's like trying to bob his head and shit. It's just not in him.
Just not in rhythm.
And then I realized like, the way he raps in it is like he has more of a melodic like cadence. Like he was coached so hard to get these like bars out. You know, like his normal speaking voice is faster,
exactly,
and has more like emotion.
Yeah.
He's so flat in this; it's amazing.
Well, it's funny because Ben has a very famous clip of him being like 12 or something, playing the violin somewhere, and he's like this musical prodigy. His dad was a composer for Hollywood.
Weird.
Yeah, so he comes from this very musical background. And like a very formal music. So because of that, in addition to his conservatism, he's always hated rap. So of course he's never like had that natural sort of
rap's not music.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah, he's of that. He's of that ilk. Like rap's crap. That sort of shit. So, to be fair though, pretty decent bars for a Ben, right?
I mean, I don't know.
He had some bars. He had some bars.
Yeah, but like it's. I can't even give him that credit, like, because it was so formulaic in all things that he's ever said, and or that are in the like zeitgeist of that like anti-woke like fight the thing. Like, it's so bad. Like, everything about it is like it flowed fine, but it's like, yeah, you could write, like, we could write a successful like rap.
Yeah, if we made it anti-woke,
like anything, dude. Pick a thing that's just like there's stupid talking points.
Yeah,
about.
Do a rap, $1 million, and that's the thing I want to talk about, because my thing isn't about Ben. I don't give a shit about Ben being in there really, or
it's cringe.
It's cringe as fuck. But the problem is, I can't even take these people serious anymore. These anti-woke like writers of Christian rappers and this motherfucker, whatever he is, and like off-brand Post Malone, like because he's like on there talking about how we won't turn your kids into thugs and we won't turn your daughters into whores, and I'm like, you're not going to turn them into thugs or whores, but you will turn them to absolute clowns, because look at yourself. This guy is covered. His face is covered in tattoos. Now I'm someone that doesn't really judge really on that sort of thing. But at the same time, you're clearly not someone that has the high horse or high ground as far as like being able to rear children better than, like, I'm not taking advice from you.
Well, yeah, no. I was listening to that song and like this, it doesn't. More to compliment what you're saying, because there's nothing in that is offensive either. It's like what he's saying. Like at the end, he's going, "I'm not, like, what is it? It's like I'm not. I don't care if I offend you."
Yeah.
Is what he's screaming, and the beat is like real fucking hard and shit. But he like doesn't say anything like that's offensive. It's like it's quasi Christian, but then also just like really dumb repeating of like the dog whistle, like Republican talking points. But he never says like anything super offensive. It's so filled with like preteen angst of like rebelling without a cause that you're just like, yeah, mom and dad, I don't care if you're offended. Like, oh, like wait, you didn't offend me. Like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to my room. Like trying to act so hard and so like it's so misguided in so many ways. Like the production of it and like everything about it is just like trying to be edgy, but it's literally like almost like a Christian box.
Yeah.
Like being like, I'm edgy. I shoot guns, right? We shoot
Yeah.
guns.
That was the other thing too. He was like saying how like wholesome he would be, but every single time he's like doing this, like he's shooting a gun.
I'm gonna raise your kids right.
Like, what are you doing?
And he literally like the song starts with like the must-have thing to say in one of these because it's not the only perpetrator of this type of rap.
Yeah.
It's this new version of like hard hip hop, politically infused, anti-woke white rappers.
Yeah.
Which is if that's not the death like nail for all of hip hop, then I don't know what is.
I mean, think about that for sure. Like hip hop has a political genesis, but it's like
but it was
ground up
punk rock. It wasn't. It was anti-political in nature.
We can argue that at some point, but yeah. But the thing is, it was always like we're the downtrodden and we're like rising up, whereas this is just kind of like fuck you down here.
Yes.
Like, are you going to rap about like trickle down economics now? Is that what you're going to do?
Is that where we're going?
Anyway, what are you saying?
The Bush era economics. I forget where I was with the full thought, but I the absurdity of it all, and the notion that you're acting hard when you're really just like repeating what the rest of the herd is saying and like doing it like a fucking like 13-year-old next to Ben Shapiro who's trying his best to act like he belongs in that scenario. Yeah, literally one of the lines is, "What would I say to myself? What would Ben do?"
Yeah, and I was
and
like, my goodness,
wait, are we literally doing a "What would Jesus
Yes.
do?" Fucking like that's how hard you are.
Yes.
Like, where's your WWBD bracelet?
That's how Christian you are too. It's like Jesus and Ben are like.
It's so cringe too. And then meanwhile, like while Ben is at peak hypocrisy of like all of his Israel fucking like bullshit, wearing his facts sweater, where it's like you can't even justify your own facts right now. You're caught in your own mental entrapment of like bullshit you've put out for the last like however many years. You know, like I'm sorry, you're like a spider caught in your own web at this point.
Such a good point, man. Because I did cross my mind, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because you can't even the facts don't care about your feelings trope and the liberal tears, like that's done.
It's done.
Like you can't do that anymore.
You are that.
Exactly.
You are the embodiment of this like snake eating his own tail like meme of yourself, like with facts don't care about your feelings.
Shit, man. So he's talking about all this shit, and I can't take him seriously anymore because it's so clear what the business plan is for these anti-woke sort of rappers is, which is basically like step one, be a rapper, start a YouTube channel or Spotify, whatever the fuck they do, right?
Yeah.
Step two, be a complete fucking idiot.
Yeah. Be fully retarded.
Yeah. Just like so stupid. You can't, like you have no thoughts in your head.
These are not your thoughts. You literally rounded up every meme that the right has and regurgitated them in a rap song.
Put it into some sort of video format, put it out to the world, and basically look at the camera and go, are you going to cancel me? Yeah. Right? Do that whole thing. And step four is profit. And it's just like, this is what you are now? Like,
it's
this
so
is your entertainment. Yeah. They all do it. And I'm tired of it because it's stupid. It's fucking
real dumb.
It's real dumb. But the other thing is that it shows how, because it's so successful, that it's this marketable product,
easily replicatable,
a marketable product that damn near sells itself. You put yourself out there as this like faux anti-woke like asshole, and you just clean up around these fucking troglodytes
Yeah.
that just cannot get enough.
Well, but it's two sided too, because you get people like us who are just like, this is so cringe and so fucking stupid, that they share it with their
Yeah.
friends who are basically laughing at it. It's like, you're a joke.
It's true.
But it's so weird because there are people who are literally like, this is so awesome. It's
Right.
gonna own the libs. It's gonna own the libs. And it's like, and that's literally like all it comes down to anymore. There's the level of disingenuous like dialogue happening in any space is fucking absurd
Right.
now. It's either you're mad or you want to make somebody mad, or you're both.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really matter. Like there's no nuance.
There's no ideology beyond. Like this is the ultimate emotional.
Yeah.
Identity.
Yeah, and really, it's like steeped in like the education of like 8th grade is like the highest you went, and
Yeah.
like that's all I'm capable of thinking about things.
Yeah.
And like I can repeat everything my pastor told me, and like this is how far they get with their ideological development within this thing. It's like owning libs, being ignorant is fun.
Proudly being ignorant.
Proudly ignorant.
These are badges of honor now when you can like own the libs or like just upset someone or by saying something stupid.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to like actually develop a personality or thoughts for myself. I can just regurgitate all this bullshit, and this is the fact that it's as marketable as it is just like it's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's in the irony behind that is like these people, especially when they get into these like these anti-trans, because like I saw one of these guys named Samson.
Samson.
I want to talk to Samson.
Yeah.
He's one of these white rappers, conservative rappers.
But he's hard as fuck.
You know what? He has some bars to be.
Dude, look, the thing is rap has been around so long now, and like there are styles that are very replicatable at this point. Like you can study it; it wouldn't be like that hard. And if you have like a strong enough personality and a good enough voice and delivery, like like good. I'm not like musically, like probably some level of talent, but like the music industry in general is so bankrupt at this point. Like it's like, is it going to get clicks?
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
How do I easily onboard clicks?
That's a good point. The children of Drake, below him is like a Jack Harlow.
Yeah,
and he has a very like replicable style where you just kind of like, you know, da 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 da, you know, just kind of doing these really, I don't want to call them simple, but they're like you said, they're boxed up in a way that anyone can do them. If you have that voice and that sort of bravado, and that's what these guys are doing. They all sound the same and they have the same sort of like flow.
I'd say they're all born out of Eminem though.
Well, Eminem's got more of a like Eminem crafts rhymes. Like this
guy,
does,
but I just mean it's like channel the anger, channel the
sure.
intensity, channel the whiteness.
You really want to focus in on
and
that,
make it country. Not that Eminem really did that. Like that, they're not like no one can touch Eminem. Like he's great at what he does. I just mean they're pulling from those two things of the playbook, and then from the trashy Kid Rock. Like
Kid Rock is probably the closer.
Yeah, like you pull from here and you pull from here.
But so they do this thing. They all sound the same, and you know his thing. Samson was doing a song about like trans identity and keeping it away from the kids because we're hurting the kids, right? This is a very common rap trope.
Yeah.
And
rap, protect the kids, hip hop, 2024.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another good thing.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. So you're talking about all this shit about protecting the kids and being on point with what you're trying to say about what's wrong with the world and the degradation of society, when the real degradation is the fact that you can make money being a fucking idiot. Like that's the true marker of a degrading society, when you can go on there and be a complete idiot and it's lucrative.
I mean, it's funny though because that's not exclusive to this like music instance.
Sure.
You look at like the Jake Pauls, Logan Pauls. Yeah. There's so many of these types of like, the Andrew Tates who mix like the chauvinistic machismo and the financial like alphadom of the world. And it's like, if you can, put on a large enough personality and say enough inflammatory bullshit, you can get recognition. Like,
all those things are signs of a degrading society.
Fuck yeah.
A functional society would see in Andrew Tate, and first off, realize you don't need him, because if you want to be fair to Andrew Tate, there's a need for him, because there's a lostness in the soul of like males. Okay,
I understand what I disagree with that to a degree.
I mean, I don't say it's
Not
true.
need for him, but yes, I like that argument of like the male loss of identity.
Yeah.
Like I think there is some truth to that in
Yeah.
terms of a modern society, and like
He's not the solution.
right,
There's a
no,
clear
yeah,
something there. It's like there's a void somewhere,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
I mean, there's other studies of like men just not like going into higher education at like a much lower rate than women at this point too. So it's like clearly we're failing like women of our country,
making less money,
yeah,
in general,
but
also
still
less
being
than women.
told they're better than women.
Yeah.
From like, you're the man. Yeah. It's like, am I?
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, if you're in a society where if the belief is that the man's supposed to not just be the breadwinner, but like if the belief is from a woman's angle is that this guy needs to make a certain amount of money, or he's not really worth it, that could cause a problem.
There's a rift.
Yeah. So yeah, there's something there, and Andrew Tate's not the answer, but the fact that he's being gravitated towards.
Oh yeah, he's there to exploit it.
Yeah. Right. Same with the Jake Pauls and all them, like just being internet.
But this is the thing. It's like the algorithm, and it feeds it. It's like a fucking like it feeds itself in that way. But like, if they are successful in doing it, like there's going to be more people who replicate that and copy that, and so it's kind of this like, train run off the tracks type of situation. There's no breaks, like unless we can figure out a way to like reestablish some level of like intellectual conversation or just a dialogue that's productive, as opposed to this whole like, you cancel me, I hate wokeness. I'm like, I'm a real tough guy because I don't like woke people, and I'm such a man. Like that's what these guys are saying. That's their rap.
So man,
I can shoot a gun, and I raise children. I hope you're offended.
Yeah, but so let's get back to that, because that's something that I kind of want to hit on harder, which is you're not offensive.
Yeah.
You're just dumb. You're a dumb person.
Yeah. Like the only person who should be offended by you is you yourself.
And your parents.
Yeah. Yeah, you're offending your parents and your reflection.
So it's like, how do you get that across? Because that's where a lot of the like arrogance comes from, is that it's like Dunning-Kruger 2.0, right? Where you just like, you're so simple-minded.